Oh, hello there. I would like all of you to meet Tiny, my super dwarf reticulated python. He's currently a year-old kid, I would say. As you can see, that's an arboreal species, and I really insist of keeping him that way. You might think that this enclosure is a bit oversized for that Retic, but in reality, to be honest, he he's not very shy. He's very often, spending that time on the branch, perching over there. Right below, you can see there are three heights of different sizes. Here, I would like to give a big shout out to Garrett from Reptiles and also Dav Kaufman. They have been a great inspiration who really pushed me towards that arboreal project. The cage was done by IMCages. So this is a Poland-based company, and they really do an incredible job at creating some high quality, great standard cages. And it's not really an ad. I'm not paid by them, but I really want to emphasize how good that job was. So here you have some ventilation. It's open in the front, and it's heated up with a heat panel right below. I think it's been really working quite well because it gives me like a nice gradient. There's like, okay, I think I'm gonna use metric system. Right now I don't know how to provide the temperature in American units, but it's around 31 at the top with a nice gradient to 24, maybe a bit more to the bottom, and trying to kind of mimic the condition from the island that the Retic comes from, and that's a Madu. He's 79% super dwarf, so the mother was like a 75% and 3 meters long, and the father was just barely below 2 meters, and he was 80 something percent. So this is Madu. Both parents were Madu, and the mother was Tiger Platinum, and the father was Platinum. So I got him from Isle of Snakes, and it's just been 1 year that he's been with me, and I'm really fond of this animal. I mean, his character, his temperament, is just amazing. This animal's just so calm that I do hook train him. I do that. However, this animal has never shown any defensive behavior, so to speak. It's been always very calm, and it has actually never bitten or attacked anyone. So that's a really nice and stable animal. As you can see, I'm trying to maintain him in a very good conditions. One more thing to say. I based this enclosure, as I mentioned, it was inspired by Richard Reptiles and Dav Kaufman, and also by some discussions that I had with the creator of that cage. He did some scientific work based on super dwarf reticulated pythons, and he mentioned that they are indeed arboreal, and as opposed to their male and counterparts, they remain arboreal throughout their adult life, because it must be related to their size a bit. Because they never grow too large for them to have to spend time on the ground. So whenever they can, they actually prefer climbing, and this is so far what I've been finding with that Retic. So the branches are actually collected in the forest, and like I didn't really prepare them too much. I wasn't really that concerned about getting mites with these branches, because I was actually much more concerned about all these synthetic plastic elements like these plants over there, because if you're ever getting mites, it's usually from like animal expos, when like if you just have a strike of bad luck, it just happens. That's unfortunate. And with these branches, I cooked them a little bit in high temperature and made sure there were no ants, no funky stuff, no growing on, and no insects living there. I actually quarantined them for a couple of weeks before putting them in. And I haven't found anything in particular that since then. So yeah, it was it was kind of a nice surprise that I could use these branches, and they were just fine. So regarding the animal, I've tried to keep it in a good shape. He's been on some small rats. I think his size is overall fine. He's growing nice and slow. Of course, I do not overfeed him. I try to I try to give him a prey of the size of his girth in the broadest at the broadest point. So that's what I do, and I feed him for now every 10 days more or less, and I think that soon I'm gonna move him to some higher to some larger prey, because he seems to be growing quite nicely. So I think it's time to move him to something bigger. Anyway, I'm sorry that my rumble is a bit hectic or chaotic. We've been all going through that COVID-19 stuff, and just out of the sudden I have decided that I want to share some information about this particular Retic. This is my only snake for now. Before I used to keep a corn snake for 18 years. I bought my corn snake when I was like 11-year-old, and it happened in 1999. So I only had one snake, and this is just basically my second snake and my only snake. And this enclosure is gonna be like a centerpiece of my room. It's gonna be the first piece of furniture that I'm gonna place in my room. So, that's a big deal to me, and I'm really happy I can share that with you. And just to give you a bit more of a close-up, I really do agree with Garrett that Super Dwarf Retics are just probably the best pet snakes you can own. Like, I'm really blown away by how smart and intelligent these creatures are. Like the fact that I don't really even have to hook train my Retic anymore. Like, very often when I open the cage, he just he comes out with curiosity. I just put my hand down, he sniffs it, and he climbs onto it as if it was a perch. I mean, he's very smart, and he even does it shortly after feeding. Of course, I've never really tried to pick him up, because I give him like a 2 or 3 days of rest before I take him out. But this is a really calm and intelligent animal. It's also very interactive. So if you really want a Retic that's in a more compact size, that's not gonna break your back, I think that's a very nice opportunity for you to enjoy and to be fond of that snakes. So, but of course, you might want to watch some other videos of Garrett, who explains a little bit more about how to get a good Retic, and from a reputable breeder, and what to pay attention to, not to buy some questionable genetics that may end up troublesome in future. So that's the first video, and hope you enjoy it. Of course, next time I'll try to prepare my speech a little bit better, but I really think that Super Dwarf Retics are just a bit underrepresented on YouTube. I think it's time we break that ball python domination. Of course, I'm joking, it's not possible, but together I think we can make these beautiful animals a little bit more visible to the hobby. So that's what I will try to do. And I don't know if I mentioned, but that's a male, and that's a platinum gene, and he says 79% Super Dwarf Madu. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.